Hello everyone and welcome back once again. This is your science teacher here, and this time I am here with a brand new chapter of NCERT grade 8, that is cell, structure and function. Students, cells are the basic fundamental unit of any living organisms that exist on earth. So students, if we were to break apart an organism to the cellular level, then students, the smallest independent component that we would find would be the cell. And students, these cells are the structural, functional and biological units of all living organisms. And students, the most interesting fact about cells that they can replicate itself independently, and that's why they are known as the building blocks of life. So students, everything that we are able to do is possible because of the trillion cells that are present in an individual. And students, the number of cells is huge, and of course the function performed by the cells is even bigger. So students, in this chapter we are going to learn and discuss each and every facts related to cell. So let's start. Students, the term cell is basically a Latin language word, and it is generally derived from the Latin word cella, that means a small room. And students, as I said, that a cell is the basic structural, functional and biological unit of all living organisms exist on earth. And students, due to the self independently replicating nature of cells, it is also known as building blocks of life. Now students, let's learn and discuss about the discovery of the cell. Students, there was a scientist named Robert Hooke who saw many honeycomb-like structures, like as you can see here in this image. Students, Robert Hooke discovered these honeycomb-like structure in a thin slices of cork under a microscope. And students, do you know what is cork? Cork is generally a part of the bark of a tree. And students, this man Robert Hooke noticed that each box, means to say cell, was separated from the other cell by a partition or by a wall. Then students, after observing these boxes under microscope, then Robert Hooke named these boxes as cells. Students, do you know scientists could study cells of living organism only when the improved microscopes are available, because these cells are so tiny that we cannot observe them with the naked eye. So 150 years after the Robert Hooke first observed the cells, in 1830 the two German scientists named the Matthias Leiden and Theodor Schiavone proposed a cell theory. And students, this cell theory says that all living organisms that exist on earth are made up of cells. Secondly, the cell theory that these three scientists gave stated that the cells are the basic structural or functional unit of all living organisms. Lastly, this cell theory stated that all cells are born out of the pre-existing cells through the cell divisions that we already discussed in the earlier sections. Means to say that the cells have the capability of self-replicating. Students, as in our earlier section we already discussed that sometimes these cells are often referred to as bricks, and these bricks are the building block of any living organism. And students, these bricks or the cells are complex living structure that can have a variety of shapes, size and functions. Means to say that the cells have different variety of shapes and size, and on the basis of their shapes and size they perform different functions. Now students, do you know that organisms show variety in cell number, shape and size? So students, in order to study cells, scientists need some special kind of devices to magnify them. As we already discussed that these cells are very tiny and hence we are unable to observe them by our naked eye. So that's why scientists need some highly magnifying devices called microscopes to study them. Students, as we discussed earlier that there are billion and trillion of cells present in an individual, either it is a tree or a large animal. And students, in fact, we, the human being body also has trillion of cells which have different shapes, size and functions. Now students, on the basis of number of cells, organisms can be of two types. As the first one are multicellular organisms, means to say those organisms that are made up of more than one cell are considered as multicellular organisms. For example, mango tree, frog, and in fact we, the human being also. The second category is unicellular organisms, and students, unicellular organisms are those kind of organisms that are made up of only a single cell. For example, amoeba and paramecium. Students, do you know the multicellular organisms with billion of cells like us, the human being, also start their life as a single cell, but due to self-independently replicating nature of cells, the fertilized egg multiply to form more cells as the organism develops. And students, like the multicellular organisms, the single cell organisms, means to say the unicellular organisms, also perform all the necessary functions like the multicellular organism, including ingestion and digestion of food, respiration, excretion, reproduction, growth, etc. And the only difference between the multicellular organisms and the unicellular organisms that in a unicellular organism a single cell performs all these functions, while multicellular organisms have a specialized group of cells to perform all these functions differently. And students, these specialized cells combine together to form tissues. Then these tissues in turn forms the different organs in a multicellular organisms. Now students, the next topic of this chapter is shape of cells. Students, as you all know that amoeba is a single cell organism and it doesn't have any definite shape, and due to this amoeba keeps changing its shapes when it moves or feeds by protruding parts of its body in order to form pseudopodia, means to say false feet. As you can see here, these are the false feet of an amoeba that it generally forms when it moves or feeds. So students, these projecting body parts in amoeba are known as pseudopodia. Students, whereas in humans there are million of cells such as white blood cells and the cells that make up the muscles and the cells that form nerves, means there are different kind of cells that are generally present in a human body. So students, all these cells in a human body have different shapes and all these cells perform different kind of functions on the basis of their shapes and size. Some of the cells in human body are round, whereas some are spherical, whereas other are elongated. And in fact, some of the cells in a human body are of spindle shape, which are long and pointed at both ends. And students, in human beings, Some cells, like the nerve cells or the neurons, are quite long and branched that are generally receive and transfer messages in a human body. Students, as we discussed earlier, that Robert Hooke discovered that each honeycomb-like structures are separated by a wall, and that wall is known as cell membrane, or we can say plasma membrane. But students, in bacterial cells and in plant cells, there have an additional rigid covering just outside the plasma membrane, and students, this rigid covering is known as cell wall. Now students, let's learn and discuss about the size of cells. Students, the size of the cells of an organism may vary from a millionth of a meter, means to say micron, to a few centimeter. But students, as we discussed earlier, that most of the cells are so tiny that we cannot able to see with the naked eye. So in order to study them, we need some special kind of devices like microscope. And students, the most interesting fact about the cells, that it is not necessary that the size of a large animal will be larger than the cells of a small animal. Students, in fact, the size of the cell depends on the function that it performs. For example, the nerve cells of a rat and the nerve cells of an elephant perform the same function, and hence the nerve cells are of the same size in both the organisms, means to say in an elephant and a rat. Now students, the next topic is cell structure and function. Students, as we discussed earlier, that in a unicellular organism, a single cell performs all the basic functions of life, like excretion, reproduction, digestion, etc. But in a multicellular organism, there is a division of labor, means to say all the basic functions are performed by the different kind of cells, and these cells are generally divided on the basis of their shapes and sizes. Students, do you know that all cells that are the structural units of an organism forms tissues, means to say the similar kind of cells that are of same shape and same size combines together to form tissues. And students, then these tissues forms a particular organ in a multicellular organism, and then these organs perform a particular functions like the respiration, digestion, excretion, etc. And that's how there is a division of labor in a multicellular organism. Students, as I said earlier, that the most interesting feature of a cell is that it's self-independently replicating nature. And students, do you know how a cell self-replicate independently? Students, there are many other cell organelles present within a cell, and students, these cell organelles make a cell a self-replicating body. So students, from this slide onward, we will discuss some of the cell organelles that are basically present within a cell. So first of all, we will discuss all those organelles that are present in both the plant and animal cell. And students, the first cell organelle is endoplasmic reticulum. Students, these endoplasmic reticulum are generally a net of canals that are made up of membranes, and students, these membranes are enclosed with a certain kind of fluid. And students, these endoplasmic reticulums are generally of two types, that are rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Students, these rough endoplasmic reticulums is lined with many ribosomes, and hence these rough endoplasmic reticulum look rough in nature. And students, the function of this endoplasmic reticulum in a cell, that it synthesizes protein in the ribosomes that are generally attached or line with it. Students, secondly, the smooth endoplasmic reticulum doesn't have any ribosomes and hence it looks smooth, and that's why it is known as smooth endoplasmic reticulum. And students, the function of this smooth endoplasmic reticulum is that it plays a key role in the synthesis or in the formation of lipids. Now students, the second cell organelle that are generally present in both the plant and the animal cells are ribosomes. Students, these ribosomes are the protein factory of cells. Means to say, these ribosomes synthesize protein in a cell. And students, generally these ribosomes are somewhat spherical in shapes and made up of RNA and protein enzyme. And students, the most interesting thing about these ribosomes that they don't have any kind of membrane and they are present separately in the cytoplasm. Students, do you know what is cytoplasm? Cytoplasm is a jelly, or we can say a semi-fluid like structure that are scattered all over the cell. Now students, as we discussed earlier, that the function of these ribosomes is to synthesize the protein in a cell. Now students, the next cell organelle that are present in a plant and an animal cell are Golgi bodies. Students, the flat, smooth, sac-like structure that you generally observe here in this figure are called cisternae. And students, all these cisternae all together combine in a parallel rows to form Golgi bodies. And students, the function of these Golgi bodies is to receive the protein from the endoplasmic reticulum and then modify it, pack it and store it. And students, the other function of the Golgi body is to dispatch the proteins in vessels to their various destination. And students, the other function of Golgi apparatus that it is responsible for the secretion of enzymes, hormones and proteins. Now students, the next important cell organelle is mitochondria. Students, this mitochondria are generally a rod-shaped organelle with a double membrane. Students, in this mitochondria, the outer membrane is smooth. Students, while the inner membrane folds over many times to form cristae. And students, due to this cristae, the surface area of the inner membrane of the mitochondria increases several times. And students, the whitish lining structure that you observe here in this image is generally a kind of fluid that is present in this mitochondria. And students, do you know that this mitochondria is also known as powerhouse of the cell because it acts as energy production sites of a cell. Now students, the next cell organelle is lysosome. Students, this lysosome is a single membrane organelle that are generally in a sac-like structures surrounded by single layer membrane. And students, the most interesting fact about lysosome that it contains some powerful digestive enzymes that are capable to break down all the organic materials that are present in a cell. And students, the main function of the lysosomes that it digests damaged cells and a variety of extra and intracellular material. And students, as I said, that lysosomes remove cell organelles that are worn out or are not functioning properly and even may digest the entire cells, and that's why it is sometimes also known as the suicidal bags of cell. Now students, the next cell organelle are vacuoles. Students, these vacuoles are enclosed by a membrane and filled with fluid. And students, as compared to animal cells, plant cells have a large vacuoles filled with a liquid called cell sap. And students, these cell sap generally contains the dissolved sugar and salts. Now students, the another important point about the vacuoles that the animal cells may or may not have vacuoles, and if these vacuoles present in an animal cells, then as compared to plant cell they are much smaller. Students, the function of these vacuoles in plant cells that it keeps the cells firm or turgid, whereas the function of these vacuoles in animal cells is to store food, water, sugar, minerals and waste product of the cell. As for an example, in the case of an amoeba, the vacuoles contains food particles, and that's why it is also referred as food vacuoles in case of an amoeba. Now students, the next kind of cell organelle are plastids, and students, these plastids are generally found only in plant cells. Students, these plastids are double layer membrane, and generally these are found in the cytoplasm of the cell. And students, depending on the color of the pigment, they are categorized into two types, as the first one is leucoplast. Students, these leucoplasts are the colorless organelles that generally store starch or the other plant nutrients. For example, like starch stores in potato cells. Now students, these leucoplasts further also classified into three main categories, that are amyloplast, eleoplast, proteinoplast, that is also known as alluroplast. Now these amyloplast contains starch, these eleoplast stores fat, and the proteinoplast or the alluroplast stores protein in it. Now students, the second kind of plastids that are present in a cell are chromoplast. Students, these chromoplast contain different color pigments, and out of the different color pigments, most of the chloroplast contains the green color pigments called the chlorophyll. And students, do you know, these chloroplasts are the sites in a plant where generally the photosynthesis take place. So here in these chloroplasts, the carbon dioxide and water combine in the presence of energy from the sunlight to produce food, and that's how the chloroplasts help in synthesis of food by green plants in the presence of sunlight. Now students, do you know that how do molecules generally move in and out of the cell? Students, in a cell generally molecules use two main methods of their passive transport to move in and out of the cell, and students, these two methods are osmosis and diffusion. Students, this osmosis process is happened when the solvent, means to say in which the solute dissolves, moves from the area of dilute solution to the area of the concentrated solution through a semi-permeable membrane. And why do they do so? Because in order to equalize the concentration level of both the solution. So we can say that the osmosis is a process in which the solutes moves from the area of the dilute solution to the area of the concentrated solution in order to equalize both the solutions. For example, the water that the roots generally absorb from the soil is generally through the process of osmosis. Now, the second method of active transportation is diffusion. Students, this process of diffusion occurred when particles of any materials move from a region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration until the equilibrium is reached in both the regions. Students, as for an example, the perfume that you spray in your cell is work on this diffusion process. So that's why as soon as you spray perfume, its fragrance spreads all through your surrounding. Now students, there is a question that why do plant cells have cell walls? Students, as we discussed earlier, that in a plant cell there is an outer thick layer that protects the cell membrane, and this outer thick layer is known as cell wall. Students, as you all know that plants cannot move from their place. So, in this case, the cell wall serves to protect their cells from the possible damage by the temperature variations, high wind speed, atmospheric moisture, etc. Now students, the last topic of your this chapter is the comparison between the plant and animal cells. Students, as we already learned and discussed that both the plant and animal cells have some things are common, and that are cell membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus and nuclear membrane. Means to say these things are common in both kind of cells, plant cells and animal cells. But students, we also know that only plant cell, bacterial and fungal cell have cell walls as compared to animal cell. And students, along with the cell wall, there are some other differences in the plant and animal cells that are very necessary for all of you to understand. As the first one is that the plants have larger vacuoles, while the animals have smaller vacuoles as compared to plant cells. Secondly, the vacuoles in plant cells store water or food for plants, and even in a plant cell, vacuoles also store waste products until they can be discarded. So that's why plants need bigger vacuoles as compared to animal cells. The next important difference between the plant cell and the animal cell is that the plant cells have plastids, whereas the animal cells don't have any kind of plastids. Nextly, only the animal cells have centrioles that helps in division of cells, whereas the plant cells don't have any kind of centrioles. Now students, that's all about your chapter number 8, and with this topic here, your chapter number 8 is completed. Now I will be come back soon with another chapter. Till then, stay home, stay safe and stay healthy.